important to mention. Mike is a distinguished veteran of our nation's armed forces, and let's give him a great round of applause for his service to our country. My privilege now is to introduce my former colleague. I'm the former, he's the colleague, Shaka Fattah. So earlier, Brandon introduced Eric as Obi-Wan, and Eric liked that. So in introducing my colleague, let me say that for all of you who've learned a little bit about One Mind for Research, we kicked that off on the anniversary of my uncle's moonshot speech, when my uncle said that we would go to the moon before the decade was out. And of course, at that time in 1961, people didn't think that it was technologically possible to do such an extraordinary act. And what guided our nation was that aspirational goal. And because of the political leadership, we attained that goal of putting a man on the moon and returning him safely in 1969, as John F. Kennedy predicted, before the decade was out. The concept of One Mind for Research is that we ought to be going into inner space, not outer space. And what we ought to be doing is making celebrities, just like we did with our astronauts. We ought to be treating the modern-day astronauts, and those are the beautiful scientists who spoke to us this early today. They are the astronauts for this new race to inner space. And let's give them a great round of applause. So, if they're the astronauts, Shaka Fattah is at mission control. And if they're the astronauts, he's the one saying, Houston, we have a problem. And what I want you to know is, because of his leadership, we are beginning to bring together the science of neuroscience. So you heard these wonderful scientists talk about how there are many diseases that overlap each other because they run along common pathways. Yeah. And so that's easy for us to understand. We take the interstate highway and then get off at various exits, depending on where we want to go. That's the concept that One Mind is bringing forward, that we all need to build the super science of that it's going to be a highway that will deliver all of us to our exits, whether it be post-traumatic stress, whether it be anxiety, whether it be psychosis. We're all going to get there faster if we work together and begin to share the science that overlaps in these clinical research projects. And so Shaka Fattah is about the political science of neuroscience. In other words, how do we bring all this science together? He is going to introduce John Garamendi. And before he gets to John, I want to say one short word about how John is so influential in all this. Because John, as you know, is your former insurance commissioner here in California. And as Mike said to you, healthcare reform is about mental health today. But it's going to be contingent upon an appropriate appeals process and enforcement mechanisms that allow us to hold insurance companies accountable in making sure that they do not impose any higher treatment limitations or financial limitations for accessing mental health than they would any other physical health condition. And so, you have the leadership here in California, and we are going to need people like Mike Thompson and John Garamendi in the future working along with Nancy Pelosi to make sure that vision of whole health that includes mental health is actually realized. And that is why their participation today is so important. But as Mike mentioned, Shaka came all the way from the East Coast, Philadelphia, and let's give him a great round of applause.
Thank you. Well, I know that
Alan Stone is going to perform. So I'm not going to stand in the way of that with a long talk about neuroscience. But I do want to, first of all, thank the Staglins, who, Garen, we talk at least usually about once a week. We are working hard on these issues. His lovely wife and my wife, we got together at the celebration of science in Washington at the Kennedy Center just a year ago. And this work that's being done on mental health. Now, Patrick Kennedy and I were just together in Dublin, Ireland, for the Healthy Brain, Healthy Europe conference, where he gave a tremendous talk. And his reference to the space race is appropriate, because when President Kennedy went to Rice University and talked about our taking a leadership in space, he said, we're not going to do this because it's easy. We're going to do this because it's difficult. And we heard from the scientists earlier today at the symposium that this is a challenging enterprise, understanding the miracle of the human brain with over 100 billion neurons and 1 trillion plus connections and interconnections, and beyond just the wiring, the chemistry, and the electrical interactions. There's so much for us to learn. But when the president walked into the East Room and said, we're going to map the human brain, I was sitting there as the only member of Congress with some of the brightest minds in our country, and just like that younger version of a president in 1961, when we laid out the pathway to the moon, I believe we can get this done. So I'm here, and I want to thank both Brendan and Shannon and their parents for their continued leadership. Mental health is a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're capable of meeting. We also have a host of other disorders and diseases. Alzheimer's, the degenerative brain diseases are a very significant challenge. But my wife and I got to the airport here in San Francisco a little bit after 10 p.m. last night. We'll be back there and taking off a little bit after 10 p.m. tonight. So we'll have a little jet lag, but we'll have fond memories of our visit here. But more importantly, we'll continue to work together on these issues. I've taken the leadership in the Appropriations Committee to say we're going to make the investments as a nation in this area. It's a big article in Roll Call today about how I'm leading this effort and how isn't it challenging that members of the Appropriations Committee get a chance to make decisions. I love the fact that I get a chance to make decisions, and we've made one. Neuroscience is a superior among equals when we talk about the sciences. Let me give you John Garamendi, who's doing a great job leading in the Congress. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I'm just downright excited. Not so much about the music, I'll get excited about that in a few moments, but about the extraordinary energy. The extraordinary energy that you've just witnessed, the kind of things that actually makes things happen. Patrick, you're charging forward. When you were in Congress, you had that energy, but you carried it into a field that you have great passion for. And the Staglins, I mean, good heavens. We've known, I think many of us have known the Staglins for years. But you talk about determination and the application of energy and intelligence to put together all of the pieces of the puzzle necessary to get something critically important done. It's all there. And for each and every one of you that are here, those of you that are participating in the earlier event, those of you that were at the wine reception earlier, and tomorrow, you are part of a very important and what will be a successful mission. A moonshot, far more important than going to the moon. You're part of that, and many of you have been here year after year after year, and you lend your help, your fortune, and your support to this extraordinary effort. The Staglins, I've watched you put together the pieces of this puzzle. Every piece. You've got Patrick involved, you've got One Mind involved, you've got the military involved, Congress involved, and all of the scientists. It didn't come easily, but you've done it over these years. 19 years and more before that. It is a joy, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege for me to be here with my colleagues, all of whom are pushing this extraordinarily important process forward. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I can feel it. I can see it. I know it's going to happen. Congratulations to all of you. Yeah.